Good point. Ashamed of being bloody white. That's bullshit.
I agree with 100%. The gentleman was talking about white shame, and for some reason we're all supposed to apologise for being white. Our forefathers built a beautiful country, and as it was here, and for some reason we've got to be ashamed of that, and I can't believe that anyone would be. It's funny in this world, you know, whites are only 8% of the world's population, but everyone else is a minority. I'm not sure how that happened, but that happened. So, yeah, I'm not interested in apologising for being white. I'm quite proud of being Australian. And somebody said, oh, you're a nationalist. I said, yes, right. No, I don't think. Apparently that's a dirty word. Loves their country and would like to see Australia for Australians, you know, have them back at work again and doing well, but you know, everyone's struggling because of this globalisation bullshit that's coming out of the United Nations, and so I'd like to see our country staying a sovereign country, and the only way we can do that is by locking our borders to some of these people who are intent on destroying them. I don't know if I said this, but 52 nations out of this world were once Christian, Hindu or Buddhist, and those 52 countries now are all Islamic nations, and the only thing that's happening to those Christians, Hindus and Buddhists is they're being slaughtered in their countries that used to be their countries. So we've got...
Hi Senator, thanks for coming. It's a two-part question. Will you run candidates in Victoria, and if not, will you provide a vote Facebook or platform?
Yep. For those definitely running candidates here, already have a really good Senate candidate here. And by the way, a lot of good people are coming out of the woodwork. People who would never normally run for politics. In good times, you get people who want to be career politicians. In the hard times, you start to get people who are the real people. And the gentleman who's going to be probably running here is a Qantas airline pilot, international airliner, and he has cattle properties, so he's got all the work he needs and all the money he needs, so he doesn't need this job. 80% of the people, 85% of the people in the room that I sit in have never had a real job. They're there for the long haul, and they'll vote whichever way their bloody party tells them to. And you know, whether they believe it, they'll vote against their conscience, and they'll vote against what their constituents want. And I see it time and time again. Even the ones who tell you that they're conservative, they're not. A lot of times what they say on TV, on Paul Murray or on Boulder or whatever else they get on, is not how they vote in the Senate. I'll send a photo around in a minute, you can have a look, of me on one side of the Senate and the whole Senate on the other side. So,
use football, bro.
you know, it didn't worry me much, but and that was the Conservative guys, and that was to withhold the welfare from not only the immigrants but also the fake refugees. The bill was stop the immigrants getting access to the welfare for another year, and I put an amendment to the bill to include the fake refugees, because they're the ones who are costing us money. They never get a bloody job, 90% of them. And they all voted against it, and even the Conservatives, who said they're Conservatives. But yeah, we will definitely have people standing for the Senate and some lower house seats in every state. I'm not sure how many, because we've only got a very short amount of time. So any decent people you know who would like to try and run for the lower house seat, definitely get in contact with us, or encourage somebody to do it.
First of all, Mr. Anning, I just want to say thank you for coming down to Victoria, despite the electric eel from Queensland. And I also wanted to say thank you for not caving into the political pressure to apologise or anything else like that. And I wanted to say for being a really decent politician. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And if somebody said, does it worry you, so many people attacking me, and I've run some of the roughest pubs in Queensland, so some of the bedwetters in Parliament don't know.
G'day, Senator.
Yep.
I'd also like to say thank you for having the balls to say what you said. I slightly disagree with the timing of it, unfortunately, but sometimes you just need to seize the day and just make the most of the opportunity. And it did take a lot of balls for you to say what you said, and I really appreciate you doing it, and I hope all politicians do the same thing, because I'm all I'm by far not a racist at all. Some of my best friends and my loved ones are all from all different countries, but cultural diversity does not unite us, it divides us, and other cultures must assimilate to Australian values, Western values, and if not, it's just going to divide us. Assimilate, please, and integrate. We've got no problem with any other person from any other country, but thank you again.
You're welcome. Just on that, I agree with you. We've had the Greeks came here, the Italians here, the Sikhs and the Vietnamese and Indians, all sorts of races have come here, and they've got in and helped us build the country, and happy as I could be with them. The people that I particularly don't want here are the people who want to attack us in the streets when they're living on our welfare. And they're the people that have disrupted and destroyed 52 other countries around the world. So if we're stupid enough to let it keep happening and think that we're going to get a different result, then that's, I think, the first sign of madness, isn't it? Yeah.
Hi, Senator, thank you for coming. I'm an immigrant. I'm from South Africa. My family is South African violence.
Yeah.
Worryingly, we're seeing this come to Victoria now and Australia. My biggest concern is not the African crime, however, it's the left using our children on matters such as climate change and sexual indoctrination of the LGBTI. But both of us stand against LGBTIQ activism and how it affects kids.
Good one. And by the way,
my question to you is today, how do you plan to protect the nuclear family in Victoria and in your party and to stop the indoctrination of our kids so that we can actually grow the next generation for Australia so that we don't lose our identity like I've seen my country lose its identity and you have no idea what that's like?
I agree with you. Thank you. Just on the South African thing to start off, I have a bill, I put a motion in Parliament to get 10,000 emergency visas for South African farmers who are being, white South Africans who are being slaughtered simply because of their race and because they have built something, as opposed to people who are attacking them and slaughtering them on a daily basis. And I know most of you have never seen the photos. I get them, thousands of them every week from South African farmers showing me what's happened. I mean, pouring boiling water down a 4-year-old child's neck to kill him and then dismembering a mother. And it's horrendous stuff, and I've got the photos and you don't want to see them. And they're the people who are being slaughtered and there's no outcry at all. And they're being slaughtered because they're white.
What have to show it?
Pardon?
What have to bring you show it?
So, what I'm trying to do is, and the South Africans, by the way, are the best settlers we could ever have. They've got the same values as we do. They're hard-working, they're great farmers, they're great people. They get jobs as soon as they get here. The only place you'll never find them is on the welfare line. But, so, on that, I agree. Our family units are being destroyed with the safe schools bullshit. That's a horrendous thing that they've been putting in there. And the idea is the socialists love to separate the children from their parents. The state will look after your children much better than you will. And once they get control of them, then they can indoctrinate them. But what I will say is what's really, really interesting is that the last meeting we had in Brisbane a few days ago, over 50% of the people are under 35. So it hasn't worked with the young people who are in here today. They've got enough brains to understand, and they've seen through the bullshit, and they're coming here and trying to fix up the problems that we have in this country, which is really encouraging.
Well, the shooter wasn't an old white male, it was a 28-year-old.
Sorry?
I said the shooter wasn't a 40-year-old white male, it was a 28-year-old. It's the younger generation of white kids going to have to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's a bit on the crazy side, obviously, but Yeah, so
Hi, Senator. Thanks for your time. It's actually a pleasure to meet you. My issue is just regarding ourselves. I think we have the right to protect our home in a possible way, whatever we feel is necessary. Just making up is a bit easier for someone to get a hold of, just with the supervision on the clock. Is that going to be an issue? You know, at the moment we're taking knives to people, whatever the news doesn't have easy access to a firearm, I guess. Is that going to be an issue moving forward?
I think I can tell you now 100% the criminals will all fire their firearms. Funnily enough, they didn't turn up at the bloody buyback and hand them in when all the rest of us did. And by the way, it wasn't a buyback, it was confiscation with compensation because the government never owned their guns to start. So it's not about the guns really, you know, everyone gets sort of fixated on that because we've had 30 years of indoctrination by the left-wing media telling us that guns are the problem. But you know, if you can't see the correlation between gun ownership and socialist agendas, then we've got a problem. People have got to understand there's a reason that this country is disarmed. Just the same reason as Venezuela was disarmed and Germany was disarmed before 6 or 7 million people were slaughtered, and Russia was disarmed before Stalin killed over 50 million people, and Mao Zedong killed them. You can't oppress a country if you're still armed, which is why America is still armed. And everyone thinks there's huge gun violence in America. I've lived a long time on and off in America, and if I told you how America ranks in gun crime in the world, most people think it's in the top 5 countries for gun crime. It's actually 111. So America, and take 3 cities out of there, that's like 200. So and they're mainly criminals killing criminals, so crack cocaine. So I think it's everyone's right to be able to protect their family. Me as a dad, and if I can't protect my family, I don't know what I'm doing here. So, and that's not a government-given right, that's a God-given right. The government took away that right.
Hello, mate. In your view, what is a greater threat to the Australian nation? Is it Islamic immigration, or is it the media vilifying, isolating and ostracising anyone who's white and unashamed of it?
Good point. Muslim immigration, of course, is, I believe, a huge threat to us, to our society. In 1970, we were 99% European. We're just below 70% European now and heading in the wrong direction. Now, if anyone in this room or in this country wants to live in a predominantly Asian society, a predominantly African society, a predominantly Middle Eastern society, I can tell you where to go. You can go to Peking, or you can go to Sudan, or you can go to Afghanistan. You can live in that sort of society. But I don't believe that most of us do it, and I don't believe anyone in this room or anyone, the right-thinking people in this country want to be a minority in their own country, but we are rapidly heading to being a minority in our own country, where terms will be dictated by other people, because it's a democracy. So we've already got 7 Muslims in Parliament, there'll be more and more, and eventually they'll be controlling how you live, how you do everything in your life. We've seen how they do that in some other countries, and I'm not sure that most people want it. And even the people who are wishing for it and advocating for it, they find out at the end that they're not happy with what they got. The Venezuelans are very, very upset with what they got. People in some of these other countries that are now complete Islamic countries are not happy with what they've got. So the media is pushing it, you're right. It would be great to have a good conservative channel. We could have Sky there, and they were good for a while, then they've lost a bit of heart. They won't put me on there anymore. Channel 10's been calling all morning, but I haven't been able to do anything. But it's lovely to have a crack at me, which they do all the time.
A little bit of a different topic, about the law courts, what's happening in 14 months. I mentioned back in February that there's been nothing being done at all about the family law reform, and that the fathers killing themselves each day for child access issues. Your view on the actual Parliament side of things, what's happening at Family Law?
Okay, this gentleman just asked about the family law court in Australia. It's so in favour of destroying the fathers usually. I'm not saying they're all good, but there's a lot of people who are committing suicide every day. I don't know how many a day now, 21 a day or something, 21 a week. And you know, they're just using the children as a lever, and it destroys people. So we've got to reform that family law court. I've talked about it in the Senate. Pauline's talked about it in the Senate, and she and I, there was 4 of us sitting on one side and the rest of them on the other side again. A couple of months ago when they had that vote, but that has to be reformed, and listen to everyone's side, not just one side. That is? Oh, sorry.
I just want to say thank you very much for having a voice. You brought my son here. He's just turned 18. So thank you for that, because he is about to vote and he's listened to come up and go back. I just want to say thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love coming in. I was at the last time I was here, it was Kilda. And this is what the left-wing media do, by the way. I don't know how many were at St Kilda. I know a few of you are here at St Kilda, but there's a group of normal Australian working people, decent tax-paying Aussies, listening to different people speak, and all I heard there was Aussie, oi, oi, oi. At 150 metres down the road, there's a bunch of lunatics with black bandanas, and they're walking around doing nuts. I won't put my hand up because somebody will photograph me. And doing Nazi salutes and speaking out Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. And there were 3 Green politicians there, and so the left-wing media decided to attribute their actions to where I was, which was complete fake, and everyone picked it up and said, oh, there with all the neo-Nazis and all this sort of stuff. Well, I don't know if you know that in the Senate, I'm the only person who put up a motion to stop funding the Palestinian Authority because they're killing innocent people. They just happen to be Jewish people in Israel. I also put up another motion to... Pardon? Who's that? Do they? Oh, really? Okay. Well, it's your opinion, but it's not mine. Okay. No, that's fair enough. I'm happy to have people disagree. Everyone can have an opinion. And then, so the other one was to move the embassy from
Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and get the whole Senate, the Liberal, Labor and the Greens all voted against that, and yet I'm the anti-Semite. So, I don't know where that's going, but the Israelis have done a great job over there. They've sort of got enemies all around them. They're the only democracy in the whole place. And they've created a beautiful area out of a wasteland, which is pretty much a desert. And of course, everyone wants to take them over and want to kill them. And what maybe you don't know is that there'll be 150 rockets sent into just suburbs of mums and dads and kids. And when there's a retaliation, of course, then we see the retaliation of the Israelis.
Hi, Fraser.
Hi.
Thank you for coming here.
You're welcome.
I'm just touching on our legal sector again. We have major problems in our legal system in Australia, but Victoria in particular. I have sat in the federal court in Melbourne and listened to dozens of cases where Australians were being given criminal charges or criminal fines for not voting or that's very minor.
Yeah.
It's all right.
And yet every immigrant, clearly new immigrants that were there, every one of them had their cases dismissed without even having the charges read out. One of them had 7 charges, criminal charges. And what it's doing is skewing our crime statistics to make it look like there's a balance in the criminal statistics. So we're not getting a true reflection of the level of crime that is happening here in Victoria. So we need to deal with our legal system, the judiciary, and our lawyers that are committing these crimes. The crimes against us.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know if you heard the other day in Western Australia now, when they give a description of a person who's committed the offence, they're not allowed to give race or ethnicity. So they're going to say, okay, guy 6'3", of medium build, bashed and robbed somebody. Well, that's actually doing the opposite of giving you an idea who it is, because if he's a 6'3" Sudanese, it's a completely different thing, isn't it? But they've cut that out. And that's what they do. I agree with you. It's very skewed, and that's what they're doing. For 45 years, no one has ever asked the people of Australia who we want to come to this country. These governments, since Whitlam, has been stuffing their electorates with people who are going to put their hand out, and we know how they're going to vote. If I'm paying you the money, there's two sorts of people in the world. There's people who work for a living, there's people who vote for a living. These people vote for a living, and those people do. So if I stuff my electorates full of these people who want to live off your hard work, then I know exactly how they're going to vote. They're going to vote for the guy who keeps paying that money. So, we have to get control of that, and hopefully down the track, if we can get enough people in there with the right will to do something, good solid conservatives like we're now getting to stand for us, we've got a really good chance of blocking anything that these left-wing government, whichever one it happens to be, and if it's short, you can pack your bags and I think I will with you. So we need to get control of what's happening, and we can only do it by having enough people in the Senate and the lower house, but particularly the Senate.
Okay, guys, Shane Lewis, I've been a public advocate for Victoria and I represent for mental health policies for 22 years.
Sorry?
I've been a public advocate representing people on mental health policies in Victoria.
Yeah.
In Victoria, when your treatment is unstable, you usually put on high-dose psychiatric drugs for foreign pharmaceutical products. For 22 years, I've been trying to get care for it.
Yeah.
Currently, there's about over $1 billion being used in foreign pharmaceutical companies for toxic drugs instead of giving these people proper care with good nutrition, a place to be in the community, and just positive decency. When these people are walking around, everybody sees them all grown up. For 22 years, I've been trying to get better care. I think the federal government should wake up.
I agree with you, and I think the government is awake to it. But Big Pharma is big money people, and they donate heavily to big government. And doctors don't talk about cures anymore, it's only about treatment, because that's where the money is. So I agree, if we can keep on selling the drugs, pharmacy, Big Pharma is very happy, and unfortunately the people who are on those drugs are not getting the care that they should. And that's another battle. And by the way, there's about 1 million battles, including family law courts and all that. And the more that you try and attack, the wider you try and spread yourself. It's like a shotgun. You're missing out on the things that are the greatest threat to us right now, which is Muslim immigration, Chinese takeover by stealth, and then becoming a socialist country. And so if they're our first battles, which as far as I'm concerned is my first battle, if we can win some of those, then we can get on to the other things, and one will cure the other.
Federal government did a scientific report last year, 8.4 tonnes of ice was used by Australians in that year. We've got a crisis and an absolute catastrophe in mental health. This drug is going to just create such a wave of mental health, we won't be able to cope with it. Yeah. So it's an urgent issue in mental health. We're looking at the future, it's a massive problem.
Huge one, I agree.
And a lot of those people down the street, I'm really concerned about their mental health. I went to talk to them, and they're definitely got mental health problems. I don't think they know this.
Okay. You're outside there? Yeah. Let's be close. Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming in. I just wanted to ask, follow the political system and how it works. What's your short-term plan in the next 6 months and how can we help as supporters?
Short-term plan is get the party registered in the next week or so, get as many people as we can on board to help us, like with flyers, doing the polling booth. By the way, the polling booth is the best place to be if anybody's going to volunteer to hand out how to vote cards, and put up a few call points, which are even more important, is the pre-polling. In Australia now is around about 40% last election pre-poll. It's growing every year. 20 years ago it was 5%, now it's up to 40%, and this next election maybe 45%. So you get a lot of bang for your buck because each electorate only maybe has one or possibly two pre-polling areas, so you only need a couple of people to cover them, and you'll get a lot of cut through. Where we're winning a lot is on the social media. I can show you something in there that this last week, I think Pauline had how many was it? 117,000 engagements, and we were 588,000 engagements. She was the next to us. So, we're nearly 5 times as high as the next politician in Australia is following our social media. So, as much as you can, share as much as you can, because that's where you win. I don't know if you know that 3 months out from the Brazilian election, Bolsonaro, the name Bolsonaro, no one knew it, and he's now the president. And he did it all on social media, just like Trump did. Trump got a lot more coverage on mainstream media, no need to pull him apart, but any publicity is okay publicity, but Bolsonaro had nothing and he did it all on social media. So we can win seats on social media, we can win the thing on social media so long as everyone's sharing as much as you can.
Senator Anning, on the social media front, what can the government do about the liberal bias on social media? When I tweeted on today, when I looked at tweets on today and news on today, I just Googled and I typed in Fraser Anning Rabbit, and the first 10 things I saw were, this is where all the Nazis are conglomerating. Go there and strike down the Nazis. Why are they able to use these platforms without government regulation? Because the social media companies aren't doing it. They're banning people with dissenting opinions that isn't in the majority. What can the government do? As much as I'm a free speech advocate, and I believe everyone has a right to talk, people who are openly and dishonestly slandering Australian citizens should not be given these platforms. What can the government do about it? What can we do about it?
Good point. What can I do? I'm one person in there right now. I will say that I'm getting more and more coming on my side who've got a little bit of ticker every now and then. Some of them are now being booted from they will be booted, like Barry O'Sullivan, for instance. He and I got the Royal Commission into banking going. For doing that, he's now not being pre-selected, so he's finished. And so the left wing in their party, which is most of their party now, and the Liberals and that, they'll just flick you as soon as you, maybe vote your voice. As far as that goes, and we're all Nazis, well, I've met a whole lot of people here. I'm still yet to meet the first Nazi here, but maybe he's hiding in the back, I don't know. I think most people who have an opinion, and as I said to people, I've had 34 hotels in my life. I was spoken to hundreds of thousands of people in public bars, in travel areas, in regional areas, and in the city. And I can tell you now, you're with a huge group, because if I walk into any of those bars now and there's a bar full of guys and I say, who here wants to get out of the United Nations, I guarantee you get 100% hands with it. The same with who here wants Muslim immigration to stop, 100% you'll get. Who here wants no more foreign aid to countries that use it to buy helicopters that may attack us one day, you get 100%. But that's what the Australian people, the decent, hard-working Australian people believe. And somebody said, oh, you're not talking for anyone in Australia. So look, I'm not talking for everyone. All I'm talking for is the people that I grew up with and I've worked with all my bloody life, and the decent people who pay their taxes. So I'm not talking for the leafy suburbs in bloody Chirac and wherever else I happen to be. I'm a voice hopefully for the people that I've listened to and grown up with and worked with all my life.
That's just the kind of national project Australia needs. We need a large national project to unite people are divided, people are disenfranchised, people have got no sort of goal to anything. And that's just the point of Paul. It's to set the country straight. How would you go about initiating that?
A great question, and I'll just tell you, Leon Anthony here is the designer of the scheme that we have. It's like the Bradfield scheme. I don't know if you know the Bradfield scheme, with the tully, the curve and the vertical running into that dam, and then the hill-shaped dam, and then the quite further great dividing range, which by world terms is just a little hill, into the arid western country. I come from the cattle station. I've watched all our cattle die in droughts and sheep die. And so we can water that inland, we can create masses of wealth, and it's easy, it's not impossible. And by the way, Leon's scheme is all gravity fed, so there's no pumping. I don't know if you know that if you pump water, it costs you about $25 a megaliter to pump it. So if you can do it without that, then it's free, and it will be running in 2,000 years' time. In 213 BC, Rome built its first aqueduct, which is gravity fed and still running today. So you can run water forever once you've got like a 1 in 3,000 fall, which is about the average of most rivers in Australia. And these dams on the Walsh that take the Ironsley, the Flinders. There's so many places we can put in beautiful dams. I was in California about 3 or 4 months ago. They have 10 million acres under irrigation in absolute desert. Not beautiful soil like we have in Queensland and North New South Wales, but desert. And they've got these 10 million acres that we grow all the way through, and every paddock, everything, there's grapes and there's walnuts and avocados and lettuce, and people working in every one of those fields, planting or picking, and it's employed hundreds of thousands of people, and it's creating a huge amount of wealth for California. I don't know if you know that California is now the 5th largest economy in the world, and one of the reasons is it has that agriculture. And we could be doing exactly the same, employing Australians. We'd be self-sufficient for food for the rest of our life, and now employing so much rubbish from all these other countries. Australia is the largest island in the world, with the cleanest oceans in the world, and yet we import 75% of our seafood. That's just a madness. Everyone around the world is laughing at us while we're buying their rubbish and fish out of the Mekong Delta. So I think I know it's getting a bit warm in here, and I'm sure you guys have got somewhere to go to. So thank you very much for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Could you put your details on those lists to bring things so we can keep in contact with you? Those are the interviews now, but the interviews, as you walk out, just put your name down and we'll talk to you more when we contact you. Thanks very much.